students, it's Miss Tron. We're going to do a lesson today about texture, and we are going to be creating a texture emu. The emu is going to have some nice hair or feathers coming off of all parts of it, and it's kind of going to give it a fuzzy look. So we're going to be working with texture. First of all, texture is how something feels. Something can be soft, hard, bumpy, rough. These are all texture words that we use. You might even be able to think of a different texture word. But today we're really working with implied texture. When I look at the emu and I'm feeling the paper, it doesn't feel like anything. But when we have implied texture, that's one of the artist's tricks to making it look as if it has a texture. So even though I know this paper just feels like paper, I'm looking at this emu thinking, oh, that emu looks a little soft, maybe, or bristly. So that's an artist's trick to make something look as if it has a texture. So today your objective is that students will be able to add texture to their art. So by the end of today, you're going to have an awesome emu with some texture added to it. So let's start off at the beginning and let's get out a paper and put your paper tall-wise. You can just use some computer paper if that's what you have. And I'm going to find the halfway mark on my paper. Oh, I forgot something. Before we begin any project, always write your name on your art. That's a good habit to get into even if you're at home. So I've got my name there. Okay, so now I'm going to find the halfway mark of my paper. And then, now that I'm at the halfway mark, and here's the top of my paper, I'm going to find the halfway between here and there. So right about here, this is the height where I'm going to draw my eyes. It doesn't have to be perfectly there, but if that's halfway and that's the top, about maybe 2-3 inches down from the top of your paper is what you're going to want to do. And the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the eyes. Now the eyes can be a little bit larger than a quarter if you know the coin, a quarter. A little bit larger than that, or even larger than that would be perfect, but we don't want them to be too small. So here I go. I'm drawing my first circle. So go ahead and draw one circle, and then go over a little bit and draw another circle that matches it, about the same size. That's going to be our eyes. And of course, as you go along, you can always adjust. I'm going to adjust just a little bit because mine's not exactly the same, but that's okay. So I'm just going to kind of adjust to make it the same, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Do your best. Next step, we are going to do the emu's little beak. So coming down a little bit from the eyes, so this is the bottom of the eyes, maybe coming down just a little bit, I'm going to do a dot. And I am going to do a curve. This is the middle of the eye, right? So I want one of the beak to go out about to the middle of the bottom of the eye, maybe even a little bit further. You could actually have it extend out even further, maybe even to the edge of the eye. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a curve that goes down like this. So kind of like a little curve that goes down. That's going to be the top of the beak. Okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little U-turn at either side. So I'm just going to kind of make my curve go back just a little bit. And now I'm going to drop a U down, or kind of even like a pointed U down. This is going to be the bottom of the beak. You want it to be, from here to here, maybe about 2-3 inches or so. You don't want it to be too short. We want our beak to be fairly long, so maybe about 2.5 inches down. So I'm just going to go down and I'm going to bring it down like this. And it's just kind of like a pointed curve down. And don't worry, yours doesn't have to be perfect. Do your best. Next step, I'm going to give my emu 2 little nostrils. These nostrils are just little ovals, really, that are at the center of the top of the beak. Okay, now we're going to draw a line that's parallel to the curved line that went down. As you can see, I have a line that goes down right here and follows the same line as the bottom of the beak. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up just a little bit. I'm going to kind of just go along. And remember, yours doesn't have to be perfect. This lesson is for lower elementary at Twin Lakes Academy. Ooh, that's starting to look really cool. Moving on to the eyes. Now for the eyes, you can position the eyes in a few different ways. Notice that the eyes are still following those circles, but it's like 2 curves to one side on each eye. So you can have your eyes pointed toward the right. You could have your emu's eyes pointed down. You can have them pointed toward the side, but whatever direction you point them to, the other lines are going to curve in the same direction. So I guess I'm just going to do mine to the side. So here I go. I'm going to do a curve like this on one eye. I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye. So I'm keeping the 2 eyes the same. Now, to add a little bit of style to my emu, oh, this just made me think of something. This is another texture word. The eye is glossy and reflective. All eyes generally are on animals and humans. So you know what we're going to do? If we go over here into the eye and draw a little circle, that's going to be like a little reflection of light in there, and is going to make our eye look kind of glossy and smooth, which is another texture word. So go ahead and add your little circles. And then now that I made a curve in this direction, I'm going to do one more curve, kind of splitting up the space. So you see from here to here, if I go over about 1/2 inch and I do another curve, well, I'm starting to bring my emu's eyes together. Now, for the next part, you can outline with a black colored pencil, a black marker, or a black crayon. I'm going to use black colored pencil. So down here, I'm pretty much going to trace that exactly, and I'm just adding a hard contour edge just so we can really see the detail on our emu. So I'm just going to go around and do those lines. So just go through and trace everything either with a crayon or a colored pencil or a marker, or if you don't have those tools at home, you can just keep your pencil lines. It all depends upon what you have at home. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to trace the outside of the circle. Pretty good. I'm realizing there's a little bit of grit underneath this. There must be something underneath my paper. But that's okay. We'll work through it. So I'm just going to kind of trace around. Now, I'm actually not going to trace this other line I mean, you can if you want to, but I'm not going to because I want it to not be so separated there where the yellow goes to the orange. That's just my choice. You could choose to do something else. But now on the very first little area, the area that has a little circle in it that we drew, let's go ahead and darken that in with your crayon or your colored pencil. So we have that nice black part of the eye. That would be the pupil on most people. On the black part in the very, very center of your eye is called your pupil. And that's where light is let into your eye so you can see. How interesting. Okay, so now I've got that, and I realize I want to do a little bit more erasing here. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to get a yellow and an orange crayon, and then for my beak I can decide whether I want to use yellow or orange. So let me go get yellow and orange. Actually, there's a few ways you can do this. You could choose to do yours in pastel. This ostrich is done in pastel. This one's just done in plain pencil. And this one is done with crayon. I'm actually going to do a wax resist with this. So I'm going to draw with crayon and then I'm going to paint over it lightly with blue so everything pops out. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. I decided to work with crayon because I think most kids at home have crayon, so I'm using crayon, but you could use paint or pastel or markers or whatever. And if you don't have colors to do these details, you can just work with pencil if you want to. But I hope you do at least have crayons at home. Alright, so now the next little section, I'm going to color that in yellow. And then this color, this little section, I'm also coloring in yellow because those two eyes are a matching pair. And you know that orange is made with yellow and red, so it kind of makes sense that orange is right here next to the yellow. It's kind of fading from one color to another. So here we go. Actually, that looks a little red. This looks more of like it's actually a color called, well, hello, it's scarlet, so it's actually more red than I thought it was going to be. That's a surprise. Sometimes the paper of the crayon, it tends to be lighter than what the actual crayon color is, but it still works. Even though this isn't like a true orange, it's more of a red orange is what we call it in art. It's a tertiary color. So anyways, I got my eyes there. And now I'm going to go and get an orange crayon. Okay, good. I found one that is a little bit lighter, more of a beak color. So you could do your beak yellow or orange or whatever. Pick what you want to do. So I'm just going to color this in inside the beak. Now when we start to strike down making our lines with the crayons, our texture, I should say, our soft, feathery texture, we are going to want to kind of if you are choosing to do a wax resist, you are going to want to press down kind of hard, is what would probably work. Okay, so now that I have my face done, or at least the features of my face, I'm going to gather up some different warm colored crayons. That would be red and orange and yellow. I might even add a little pink in as well and purple, because those are still colors that are closest to our warms. Purple is not a warm color, but purple does have red in it, so it's very harmonious when we use orange and red and yellow and purple and pink together. Those colors are very harmonious together. Okay, so now I have quite a wide range of colors that are associated with the warm family. This is red violet, okay? This is pink. I have orange. I have this color which is called yellow orange. Yep, that's a tertiary color. I have the red violets and just yellow. So what I'm going to do is right around the head, I'm going to either lightly draw or imagine a circle, okay? So I think for you guys at home, so I can help you out a little bit, now you want to draw very, very lightly this circle if you're going to need a guideline. Basically, our circle is going to have our texture, our soft feather texture, coming from the inside to the outside. So if you need to, you can kind of lightly draw a circle around and then realize that all of the lines are going to kind of start right here where the beak is and strike out from there all around the edges. If you don't need to draw a line though, if you don't need to draw a circle, I mean, you don't have to. So here I go. I am going to go in with this red violet, and I'm going to start here at the beak. And you could just use one color all the way around, but I'm going to use a lot of one. I think it's going to give it my art a little bit more visual interest. So starting here, I'm just going to start striking out like this, okay? Having some fun with it. So I'm making my little feather texture. Now when you get close to the features, you can slow down so you don't actually go over them, but you're just kind of striking out like this, striking. And this is going to create the most beautiful texture for your bird. Thing about wax resist is if you actually draw or strike rather darkly, if you're choosing to paint over it, the paint's going to show up a lot better. So I'm just going to strike it out here. And now I think I'm going to move on to, I suppose I'll move on to my, well, I guess I'll use the scarlet color again, which has the appearance of being a red-orange in my opinion. But anyways, so now I'm starting from the beak and I'm going to strike again. Now remember, when you get to the features, don't color over the features. Our features are overlapping the feathers. So as I'm going up, if I could show you, as I'm going up from the beak, it's as if the line is going behind the eyes, okay? And I'm just kind of maintaining that kind of circle feel. Okay, so once again, coming over here doing the same thing, going behind the eyes, and then striking out to create a lovely texture. It's very fun. It's fun to create this feathery texture. So now, let's see. I guess I might use a little bit of this pink. And I'm just going to kind of, now I'm starting, because remember, it's as if all of these lines are coming from the center point. So now I'm going to start bringing them around like this. It's as if the face is a gigantic poof ball. So now I'm going to bring it around the side like this. Striking down. I'm going to do it on the other side as well. Now you could make yours a little more curvy if you want to, or you could do yours straight like mine. It's up to you. Experiment with it. Figure it out. Oh wow, this bird is starting to have a lot of personality with this feathery, lovely texture. So now, let's see. I could switch up my colors again. Maybe now I'll go in with some yellow He is just the funniest, or she, it might be a she. She is just the cutest little character, the funniest, cutest little character. You could even blend or mix the colors if you want to. That can be kind of fun. So if I'm going back in with the yellow over here, over top of some of these other colors, that's going to give it even more variety. That's something fun you could try. In fact, maybe I'll mix some pink in over here. Oh yeah. Kind of looks almost like a pufferfish in some ways, but it's actually a bird. Like with the texture of it, at least. And down here at the bottom, maybe I'll go back in with maybe some of this red violet. I think I'm going to add some of that in down here. And actually, I really like that red too. Save some room at the bottom for your neck. I've kind of gone a little nuts on the face, but make sure you save at least 3 or 4 inches at the bottom for your neck, okay? Would be great. This feathery texture is really fun. And maybe, let's see, oh yeah, maybe we'll add some more of a scarlet back in too, just for fun. Now, it's kind of like our character's a little Muppet, or, oh, I don't know, maybe a little puppet or a little Muppet. Down here at the bottom, I'm going to do a series of soft, feathery lines. If you notice, it's as if there's 2 lines coming down. So there's 2 ways you can do that. You can just kind of envision the neck, or you can very, very lightly here at the bottom draw a line here and draw a line here for your neck. Okay? So same thing again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start to strike down some ribbons of color. So here I go, and I'm just kind of making it go down like this. Vertical markings going from one side to the other. So I'm actually using a vertical line here. And now let's see, maybe the next part on the neck is these yellow lines. And I kind of want to go back to this color here. This, what seems to be a reddish orange to me. Red orange. Okay? I also want to go back on here too and add more to the face. Alright, cool. Now, if you want to, you can just stop there, but another thing you can do, and I'm just noticing I want more and more lines because these lines are so fun to do. Okay, so I'm done. What you can do now, if you do have watercolors around, you can add a layer of paint over the top. Since I use the warm colors, it would probably be pretty smart of me to use a cool color over the top on my wax resist because it's high contrast. So I'm going to use blue because I know blue is going to make everything else pop here, make it really pop out. In fact, I want to go back in just a little bit more with my yellow and strike down a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm going to go through with my blue, and I want to not make it super duper dark. I want it kind of to be a middle value. So here I go with my watercolor, and I'm actually using a pretty big brush. The trick to this is keep it consistent if you can. Okay, so I'm going in, and if I go all over the top, see that wax resist is happening. So wax resist is when the crayon, and you can see that happening right here, the crayon has wax in it, and wax resists water. So the only thing that's getting through to the paper are the areas that don't have a lot of crayon on them. And I kind of like how this is going. I'm using a big brush. You could use a small brush. It's really up to you. This is just for those kids at home that have a paint box they want to use. They could do this. Or like I said, you could do it in pastel. You can get pastels really inexpensively at the Michaels sometimes. You could do it in pencil. It's really up to you what you want to do. I think I might give this to my daughter. I think she's going to like it. Or my son. Now, with this, your name, one thing I always tell the kids at school is, if you're painting over your name, make sure I can still read your name. So, of course, if you were to paint over your name very darkly, we wouldn't be able to see your name anymore. So it's something you want to think about. And I'm just kind of painting this the way you would paint a wall. Just kind of going back and forth. And actually, I might even take it a tad bit darker now that I see what it's looking like. Maybe just a little bit darker to make it a deeper color. Anyways, so there we go. I now have my emu, my texture emu, and it's even going to look a little bit better when it dries up, but that's another example of the wax resist with the cool color. So you can add to this more. If you still have time, you could practice doing another texture emu. But once again, we learned about texture today and how you can make an implied texture. We made our emu look very soft and fuzzy. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and have a wonderful day. Oh, also, before I forget, don't forget to please email me a photo of your work at my email address. So email me a photo of your art to my email address. You should also see that email address listed in the directions for today's lesson. But that's all, and I hope you had a wonderful time making your art. See you next week.